Okay, so this is part 4, I think, 3 or 4. We're talking about emulsifiers. So one of the things I was saying that is that emulsifiers are what make the they blend basically fats and liquids together and make it so there's a smooth consistency. So one of the things that researchers have found is that when they give mice lots of emulsifiers, in this particular study they gave them polysorbate 80, they became obese and they developed metabolic problems, like where they stopped being able to handle glucose as well, just like what happens in diabetes. And they had an increased risk for inflammatory bowel disease as well. It reduced the diversity that was in their gut. And they think part of how that happens is that these emulsifiers break down the mucous membrane between the contents that are inside the gut and the gut wall itself. And there's this mucous membrane. And if that gets broken down, then things get exposed. The contents of the gut or even bacteria within the gut can get exposed to the wall of the cell that sparks the immune system in the body. And they found that certain people are more susceptible to this than others, to emulsifiers than others. Some people can handle them, and some people it really causes this problem to occur. So fructose is another thing that we need to be really careful of. It's interesting that our bodies are not designed to handle large amounts of fructose. And if you think about the amount of fructose that is in fruits or vegetables and you compare that with the soda, you can see the difference here. This one bottle of soda, which is a 20-ounce bottle of soda, which is about a medium-sized soda, is equivalent to the same amount of fructose that we would get from eating 5 bananas or 6 cups of strawberries. Now, if we ate 5 bananas, we'd be pretty full. Or if we ate 6 cups of strawberries, we'd be pretty full. But a lot of people will have a soda and then go have a hamburger and a French fry on top of it and not think much about it, especially only a medium-sized drink. But when we have fructose, it seems to disrupt the microbiota within the gut. It favors less healthy forms of bacteria. The other thing is that fructose does not stimulate the feedback mechanism of fullness or satiety like glucose does, like other carbohydrates do. So it's really easy for us to overeat fructose. And where do we find fructose? We find it in things like soda or processed baked goods. They use high fructose corn syrup. In essence, that is about 50% fructose and about 50% glucose. But we get exposed to large amounts of fructose through that. When we are consuming large amounts of fructose, we also fructose has to be changed into glucose to be able to be used by the body, and the liver has to do that. So it puts a big load on the liver to try to convert all this fructose into glucose. When we overconsume high quantities of fructose, it causes problems similar to diabetes. We stop being able to process our sugars and become resistant or intolerant to sugar in the body. Our blood fats go up, our triglycerides go up, our blood pressure goes up as well. And also we favor a microbiota that promotes obesity. One of the interesting things that researchers have found is that people that are obese, there are 2 main categories of bacteria that are found in the gut. There's Firmicutes and Bacteroides. And people that are obese tend to have a lot more of the Firmicutes variety. Another fascinating thing is that artificial sweeteners can also influence our microbiome. Artificial sweeteners include things like NutraSweet, things like Splenda or saccharin, okay? And they cause a dysbiosis to occur, meaning that they favor the more pathogenic forms of bacteria and not the good forms. Just like you saw with fructose, artificial sweeteners actually decrease our body's ability to handle glucose. Even though they're not providing sugar per se, they have the same effect on the body that sugar does, and that when we overconsume it, our body can't handle it anymore and loses its sensitivity to insulin. Also, artificial sweeteners, just like we talked about with fructose, favor Firmicutes over Bacteroides. And we said that having too much Firmicutes seems to be associated with many kinds of obesity-related diseases. All right. Do I need a probiotic supplement? Well, there's no single species of bacteria, fungi, or yeast that works as a magic bullet to completely rebalance your inner garden. That's a quote from Gerard E. Mullen, who's a gastroenterologist, I think for Johns Hopkins. But some questions that we can ask ourselves: well, have I had a history of antibiotic use? Do I suffer from bowel conditions like bloating, like gas, like IBS? Do I have hay fever? Do I have allergies? Is it cold or flu season? Did I have a vaginal birth? Was I breastfed? Do I have some kind of chronic inflammatory condition, whether that is a physical chronic inflammatory condition or a mental or emotional, like we talked about with depression? Then you might want to consider using a probiotic supplement. So when you're looking for a probiotic supplement, you want to look for one that has multiple strains, okay? Like we said, the more diversified the microbiota is, it seems to be the healthier that somebody is. Now, there's no way, within our gut, we probably have hundreds of different kinds of strains, and there's no way we can get one pill that has all those in it. But it is good to look for a variety of strains, okay? We want to include lactobacillus, and we want to include bifidobacteria. Those are ones that have been studied quite a bit. We want to make sure that the delivery system of these probiotics, that they remain intact until they get down to the colon. So look and study out what kind of delivery system do they have. Are they encapsulated in some way to protect it so that they're not killed off all in the upper GI tract? We want to be careful about having too much sugar because, you know, for example, if we're eating yogurt that comes out of a squeezable tube that's full of sugar, how much health benefit are we getting when we get all that sugar at the same time? So choose options that are the lowest in sugar and also that are free of artificial sweeteners, okay? Remember also that prebiotics will enhance the effectiveness of probiotics. Prebiotics are the food that probiotics eat. So making sure that we get enough fiber and resistant starches in our diet, or perhaps even taking a supplement that includes some kind of fiber or resistant starch or some kind of oligosaccharide, can help feed the probiotics, the beneficial bacteria in our gut. Also, you know, something that most people don't think of is that we would want to consume probiotics in filtered water, because if we're consuming water that just comes out of the tap that's full of chlorine, that's going to kill a lot of the probiotics. Okay. Fermented and cultured foods are another great source of probiotics, and these have been around for millennia. You can look up recipes online really easily, you can make your own sauerkraut, how you can make your own kimchi, your own yogurt, your own kefir, or you can buy those from stores. Okay. Other things to think about. Do I need a prebiotic? Remember, prebiotics are the food that feeds probiotics. Well, you can ask yourself, am I consuming enough fiber? The USDA recommends that we consume about 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories. So for somebody that was on a 2,000 calorie diet, that'd be about 28 grams of fiber in a day. And I also put in there, for example, a sedentary 50-year-old woman, she needs about 22 grams of fiber a day based on a that should not say 16,000 calorie diet. That should say 1,600 calorie diet. I'll have to go back and correct that. Fructooligosaccharides, you can buy those as a supplement, and for some people they may be really beneficial. I put some of the best food sources of fructooligosaccharides there, which include things like Jerusalem artichokes, like chicory root, leeks, onions, garlic, bananas, wheat, and barley. Okay. Another common fructooligosaccharide is inulin. You can get that as a supplement as well. Remember that oligosaccharides are fermented in the colon to make short-chain fatty acids, and these short-chain fatty acids have anti-inflammatory effects in the body and can protect us against certain types of chronic issues within the colon as well. Research, you'll notice here the last thing it says research shows that supplementation with prebiotics over 12 weeks results in weight loss without any other dietary changes. One of the studies that I read, they gave a group of people, it was a double-blind, placebo-controlled study. So that's the best kind of study that you can have, because that means that the recipients of the supplement didn't know if they were getting the fiber or if they were getting a placebo or not, and neither did the researchers. Okay, So they found that the ones that they put on this oligosaccharide prebiotic, after 12 weeks, they'd lost 2.2 pounds without changing what they ate at all. Okay, so that's pretty incredible. Another study provided a group of type 2 diabetics 8 grams of inulin, which is a fructooligosaccharide, daily for 4 weeks, and they didn't change anything else about their diet. And the group taking the inulin saw a statistically significant reduction in their blood sugar levels. So helped those help bring blood sugar levels back down. And I'm not going to take much time to go over this, but these are just several examples of several different bacterias and some of the benefits that come from consuming these different bacterias. Most of these can be found in fermented dairy products, okay? But you can see that almost all of these, they'll help control the growth of pathogenic bacteria within the gut because they crowd it out. They take up the space and the resources, so the pathogenic forms can't take up house and take up residence. A lot of these can help with things like allergies. They can help with digestion, all sorts of stuff. So you can just take a look at that. Now let's talk for a few minutes about beans. So beans are a great source of iron, magnesium, potassium, calcium, zinc, riboflavin, and also folate. But another thing that is really good about beans is that they are rich in resistant starch. So we talked throughout this presentation about resistant starches. Resistant starches act similar to soluble fiber, so we can't digest them. They enter the colon and they're converted by bacteria in the colon into short-chain fatty acids, and I'm going to abbreviate that SCFA. So the SCFA, excuse me. Short-chain fatty acids help to acidify the colon and protect against cancer, inflammation, and offer protection also against creating an environment, a low pH, in essence, where pathogenic bacteria don't want to reside, okay? Short-chain fatty acids can also decrease the production of cholesterol in the body, so that's pretty amazing. Beans are a great source of those. And let's go on to our next slide. So sometimes when people are starting off consuming more prebiotics, more vegetables, more legumes, they have problems with gas. So what can you do to help deal with that? Well, the things that cause gas are stachyose, rafeose, and verbicose. These are polysaccharides in beans that we can't digest. So when these arrive in the colon, the bacteria ferment these and produce a lot of gas in the process. So one of the things you can do is you can cook beans correctly. You might want to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar to your beans when you soak them. It's good to soak beans overnight when possible, and that seems to help break down some of that. And never salt your beans before you cook them. Wait and salt them after, okay? Increase your consumption of beans and other high fiber foods gradually over a period of several weeks will also help, because then you start to build up the levels of beneficial bacteria that will help you digest those better. I would not eat fruit or really sugary foods close to the time where you're eating beans. I would separate those by a few hours. And then also make sure you chew your food really well. And you can use certain spices that will also help avoid gas or help deal with gas. Fennel, anise, peppermint, caraway, coriander, ginger, tarragon. These are all seasonings and spices that have been helpful in dealing with gas. There's a great oil listed over here by doTERRA, and if you're interested in getting some of that, you can talk to me and I'll set you up. And it has all those oils in it, and that's a great supplement. You can take a little bit of that oil in a glass of water when you're eating these fiber-rich foods to help avoid having gas issues. All right. Guidelines for a good gut. We're going to go ahead and stop here, and we'll take that up on our last presentation of the night, our last section.